Hello and welcome to the latest This is the Music Meets podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Wigan legends Stanleys. Jake, thanks very much for coming on today. How are you doing?
Good, thanks for having us. I'm good. The weather's a bit too hot, but we'll survive.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's I think where I am down in Essex, it's threatening to rain at the minute, so probably much needed for most people's eyes. But hey, we're never happy unless we're moaning about something, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
So as obviously, if you're not aware, but this is the music. We like to try and shine a light on upcoming bands on the new music scene like Stanleys. So sort of kind of like over the last sort of 12 months, has there been any bands or solo artists that have caught your eye personally?
Yeah, definitely. I think once you start a band, I think you start taking notice of who's around you and who else is doing well, and not even in a competitive sense. Just it's almost like people that you meet at gigs and stuff like that. And I think quite a few are standing out to me. Obviously, there's a big scene in Wigan, so we're quite close with a lot of them bands, like the Flechettes. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah, yeah.
River, another great band, the Facades, the Lathams. Um, so there's obviously a lot going on there. But I mean, even further afield, I found the other week a band called Shambolics from
Oh,
Scotland.
yeah, they're great.
And
Massive
I've had
fans
them
of them.
on. I've had them on repeat for like the last couple of weeks, and sort of blew me away. Really, I was like, how are these guys not playing arenas? What about you? Have you discovered anything recently?
Yeah, quite a lot really. The band I've just got into just released their debut single last week, a band called The Finn. They're up from Scotland. Obviously, the bands that you've mentioned there, I'm massively into as well. I've got to mention them. If I don't, they'll shoot me. Is Lock-In, massive fans of them. A band near me, San Quentin. And obviously another band as well from your way, and we'll come on to them actually a little while with the with the Band-Aid rework that you did, but obviously
Yeah,
Garden Party as well from that neck of the
yeah,
woods.
of course, yeah, amazing band. I mean, there's too many to name. Like you just forget, don't you, how many good ones there are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very difficult to keep up, and it's a real exciting time I think for British guitar music at the moment. There is so many class and quality bands that are coming through. And yeah, obviously like yourselves massively into it, so it's great to see really.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It is really good.
So obviously we're going to come on to talk about the new single shortly, but I kind of like want to rewind back really to sort of when I first got into you effectively, which is kind of like when you sort of pretty much first started. Obviously you recorded your debut live EP, which is obviously next to me here. Obviously it was recorded at Wigan's DW Stadium, a place obviously that must mean like a lot to you personally, or to to the others in the band as well. So kind of like what was the experience of doing that sort of gig? Obviously a blip with just maybe a couple of cameramen and stuff. And how did it come about?
I think during lockdown, one of the hardest things for bands was to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting when you can't record new songs, you can't play live, and a lot of cases, can't even rehearse.
Mm-hmm.
We were lucky really because we had a rehearsal room that the council sort of ran, so it was like we were able to get in there, but we know a lot of other bands that weren't as lucky and couldn't rehearse. So I think it sort of stemmed from trying to keep ourselves relevant in this sort of ever-changing social media orientated world. You've got to stay relevant, and it's difficult really. So I think we found ourselves brainstorming, like, what's the maddest thing we can do. We can't play live, and we noticed like a lot of people started doing Instagram lives and going live on Twitter and Facebook, and it a lot of it was good, but it's like, it was on a phone and the quality weren't great and stuff, and they'd just be in a bedroom or whatever. So we kind of took that idea and thought, how can we sort of improve upon that? And we
Yeah.
got the football club involved, because all the staff, like, you know, the video team and stuff, didn't have any work during lockdown. So
Yeah,
it was a
sure.
way for us to involve the football club and their staff, but also, you know, give something to our fans and do something as a band. So it sort of it ticked all the boxes really in that sense.
Oh, fantastic, and obviously a great a great idea, really, because sort of a win-win, really all round. Then, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was just sort of one of the things that came together. Um, you know, there's not very many of them these days, but it just sort of clicked into place. So it was, you know, it was really enjoyable as well. It was like for us, you know, to go on the pitch. I've never been on that pitch before. You know, I've had a season ticket for years and sort of grown up watching Wigan when they're in the Premier League, stuff like that, and obviously with the FA Cup. But I'd never been on the pitch before, so that was like a big thing. So
Yeah, amazing. I can imagine what or I can only imagine. Sorry, what that feeling must have been like for you. And sort of just looking back on the album, is there a on this a live album? Is there a particular favourite song? Like, do you like look back? Sorry, pardon the pun. Like and go, oh yeah, this one was one for me that really stood out above the rest, or
mhm. um, I think at the time we just sort of look back together as like a song. I remember sort of writing it in bits and stuff, and then none of it really fitted. And then I sort of put them all together into what I thought would be an okay song, and we ended up rehearsing it like 2, 3 weeks before the actual date, and we thought, you know, it's not out, but we'll do it as a new song, you know, as a treat to the people that are tuned in and stuff. So at the time, I think that was quite exciting because it was quite different, and we got a lot of comments saying, you know, when he releasing this song, what's this song called, and stuff like that. So that for me was like the big song of the moment, really.
and you've obviously continued like the close relationship, obviously with Wigan, the football club, because obviously you recently played for about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I think now roughly. You obviously played at the club's end of season party in the park, obviously with Wigan winning the league and obviously getting back into the championship. And it looked like from what I've seen across the socials, all the videos and everything that have been posted, it looked like a lot of fun for you guys. And I think you can see like the enjoyment as well, like that you're having like up on stage, as I say. So what was it like playing to a crowd like that size? And what else can you remember from the day?
It was, to be honest, it's always, I don't know if it's easier or more daunting really, because when you're playing to like say festival crowds, it's sort of similar because a lot of the people, you know, haven't heard of you. Although we have got quite close ties with the football club, you know, a lot of people there never didn't know who Stanleys were, so it's always daunting playing to a crowd that don't know you. But also in that sense, you've got nothing to lose, so I suppose you can just go out there and you know and just sort of try and do your best. And I think we tried to make it interesting as we did a lot of like Northern Soul songs because the
Yeah,
clubs, um, you know, we've sort of in Wigan with Wigan Casino and the history of Northern Soul
yeah,
in the
sure.
town. It's a big thing, and you know at the match days and stuff, the playlist is pretty much all Northern Soul. So we thought, you know, we'll keep it. Um, we'll stick to our roots, and we'll do a bit of a homage to, you know, the stadium itself and the tracks there and Wigan as a town. And I think a lot of, especially the older fans, sort of appreciated that. So that for me was like a really good part of the experience, and it was fun to play them. It's something that, you know, we'd never normally do something like that. So it was good to just go out our comfort zone a bit, really.
Oh, fantastic! And obviously, and just sort of sticking with the football club. Obviously, we've mentioned obviously you've got promoted back into the championship. Kind of like what do you think would represent like a good season, like looking ahead now for you?
I think, to be honest, I thought we'd have brought on more players. You know, with the way that the championship is at the minute, it is so competitive. And even some of the teams that are getting relegated now, even, you know, teams that haven't had points deductions and stuff like that, some of the caliber of teams that aren't surviving in that league is quite scary, really. But I feel like this with the new owners this next season, the fans are behind the club. and I feel like it is a fresh start. Last time we were in the Championship, it really wasn't great. You know, we were questioning whether we'd even have a club.
Yeah.
So just to even come back into the Championship with a whole new sort of fresh mindset as a club, I think is quite exciting. And you know, I think I think we will do well, especially if we bring in the players we need. So
Yeah, sure. And because obviously you've been sort of a bit mysterious with the ownership, obviously, hasn't it, for a little while at Wigan. So I guess that must be a major relief now to actually have, you know, clear direction. Obviously, with the with the previous ownership, obviously maybe being a little bit shady.
yeah, definitely. I think when we've seen even clubs like Bolton who've gone through like really, you know, difficult trouble with ownership. It's like, although obviously, you know, our biggest rival, it was even that was sad to see because the prospect of not having that local derby there, and I know a lot of Wigan fans that said the same. It's, you know, you joke about it, and you hate them, you know, when they're
Yeah,
beating
yeah,
you, but it's like the prospect of anyone not having a club to support, even just seeing conversations, you know, between Bolton fans about who they would support when the club went, it was like it's not something that any fan should have to go through. I wouldn't wish it on any club really. So, you know, it's just good to be out of all that shadiness, to be honest. It seems like a lot of northern clubs are just neglected really. You know, if it happened to a massive club, you know, a massive London club, it wouldn't, you know, people would step in, the government or new owners would be straight there. But because it's small northern clubs, I think it is forgotten about. But
yeah. And obviously, I know it was for slightly different circumstances, but obviously we mentioned the government, they're obviously stepping in with the Chelsea situation and stuff. So I know
yeah,
obviously slightly different, but as you say, that someone steps in and, you know, obviously try to keep the club going, which obviously, you know, as you've just said, you don't really want to see anybody you know,
no,
go out any club, doesn't matter who they are really. So obviously your new single, Why Would I, is a top tune, and for me it's probably your best one that you've released
nice.
to date, to be fair. It's obviously got your trademark sort of, you know, jangly guitar riffs in there as well, and obviously that great sing-along chorus. So what can you tell us about the track?
It's quite an old one, to be honest. It was, I mean, I always feel like when, you know, when you're recording stuff and you know, Scott from the Lavins always goes on about this. It's like there's a 12-month period in which you're sort of living 12 months in advance of what's happening, because I suppose that's just the way it is. You've got to prep for, you know, distribution times and vinyl turnarounds, and so you're living in this sort of year-long sort of void where people say, "Oh, when's your new song out?" And it's like, "Oh, the one we wrote last week," and it's like, no, that isn't the case. It's, you know, Why Would I was a lockdown song,
Oh
to be
right,
brutally
wow.
honest. Yeah. So, so to see it come out, it's refreshing, but it sort of just carries on the theme of the last EP, sort of like indie guitar, sort of poppy sing-along songs like What's Been and Gone, and the chorus To Look Back. It's sort of um, it's trying to be modern, but also homage to, you know, past guitar music that we like as a band. But you know, bands like the Smiths and the Stone Roses, and we've always worn our influences on our sleeves, really. So, but in terms of music, it's more modern. It's like I was experimenting with things like keeping the same chord progression throughout the entire song, and using arrangement and production techniques to sort of like freshen that up. It is, so in a sense it was, you know, we were sticking to what we knew, but we were also going out of our comfort zone. So it was good to finally get it out there.
So just saying there about getting sort of, you know, trying a few different things, was that quite an enjoyable sort of process to sort of get your teeth into then, or, you know, and do you think that you might maybe like potentially like revisit that, if you maybe have already done it by the sounds of it, if you're writing songs 12 months in advance, but you know, is it something that you might, you know, consider, you know, again in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I think we found our sound now with a producer called Gareth Nuttall from a studio called The Lounge in Wigan, who we really like. He's worked with the K's, the Lottery Winners, you know, some massively like relevant bands at the minute. So you know, we found a producer who we trust, who we get on with, and who I enjoy spending time with. You know, we spent about 4 days, just me and him, layering guitars, keyboards up, changing the drum sound, and I think we're sick of each other at the end of it. But we've, you know, we've got this like sort of connection now where well, we know what each other like, and we get on, and I'm looking forward to working with him again. But in terms of like songwriting techniques and stuff, this was the first EP where I started looking at how other songs were written, and how I could not steal, but sort of use use techniques that other great songwriters had done. You know, there is sort of a method to the madness. There is sort of technique to it, really. So
Yeah, so just saying on the writing process, then is it and that, so is it something that you come, you know, to the studio, or however you know, send it over to the rest of the band, right? This is the song, we're gonna do this and this, or is everyone, you know, effectively, you know, like chucking in some ideas and going, or how about this drum sound here, or this bass line? How does it work?
but I think it's sort of developed. We've done like many different ways. I think with this one, the other lads sort of let me go a bit crazy, to be honest, with this EP. For better or worse, I don't know. We'll find out. Um, but yeah, no, it's like I'm sort of really lucky in a way that I'm in a band with Tom, who's got an amazing voice. I'm an awful singer, so and Rob as well has got an amazing voice, our drummer, and Rob's been playing drums since he was about, you know, 5 or 6. He's unreal. And Harry's, you know, one of the best bass players I've ever played with. So it's like, just to be in a room and have that energy to bounce off. It's like, you know, when I'll just strum some chords and write some lyrics down, you know, they're nowhere near as good as when, you know, these other people add, you know, they make it into the song that you're hearing. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
three unbelievably talented musicians. So
Oh, it must be joy, and of you saying that, and to be fair, with obviously the guitar riffs as well with yourself, you're highly talented as well. Not
well, I
per
don't know
se,
about
no.
that, but
Yeah, no, you are. Don't. It's not just about the, you know, you're the only one here, so we'll big you up as much as we can.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, I mean, obviously, it must have been a major disappointment, obviously, for yourselves that obviously you've had to postpone the big gig that you had at Gorilla in Manchester next month. But obviously, the flip side to that is that you've got a bigger venue, which is going to go ahead on Friday, the 5th of August at Manchester Club Academy. So, how excited are you to be, you know, getting back out there again and playing such a big, you know, such a big gig?
Yeah, it's been long overdue, really. It's a weird feeling because obviously on our sort of debut tour just before Christmas, the venues we were playing were like you know, the Castle in Manchester, which is like, we sold it out 70, 80 cap. It's like, it's, you know, it was really intimate. It sold out within minutes. But then to go from that to Club Academy, it's just like the level. I don't know. It feels something's going on. It feels like we've missed a few. I don't know. But yeah, with obviously we're getting the awful news about Grilla. It was one of them really. We had a few options. You know, we could have just said, you know, we'll push it back 6 months, but then, you know, the same thing can always happen. You know, it's that risky run with live music at the minute, and there's not a lot of venues. And the other promoter said, look, there's, you know, a slot at the academy here for this date. You know, it's a week later, a lot of people might be on holiday or can't come or whatever, and it's a bigger capacity room. But we've been putting it off that long now. You know, it seems ridiculous. We've been talking about this like big Manchester show. We were talking about doing it in like March, and it just never materialised. And so at this point, it was just sort of like, let's just get on with it. It's, you know, 5th of August, change the venue. If people can come, they can come. If they can't, they can't. But we've had an amazing response so far. Tickets have been flying out. Loads of people said, you know, couldn't get tickets for Grilla. Now they can come this. And even with our old show lining up on the weekend of Why Not and Kendall, that
Yeah.
was quite unfortunate, really. And now it's sort of opened up. So it swings and roundabouts, really. You know, what goes around comes around. So
yeah, fantastic stuff, and we'll include the link to to that gig on the 5th of August in the episode bio as well, and you know, to help spread the word, and obviously, you know, fingers crossed, obviously, that there's no more mishaps with
yeah,
venues for you,
fingers crossed.
and obviously that you have a great gig. So for maybe for someone that hasn't heard Stanleys before, how would you describe yourself as a band?
I feel like we're fresh, but also nostalgic. In a way, I think we try and everything we do, we try and be innovative, but also, you know, we like a lot of 60s stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the Beatles, the Kinks, the Stones, the Who, Hendrix, Simon and Garfunkel, a lot of 90s stuff, Blur, Oasis. Um, but then we want to stay modern and you know, and relevant and keep pushing these boundaries. So I think that's the best way of describing it, sort of nostalgic but modern. So
Great stuff, and we sort of touched on it a little bit earlier on, but obviously you was involved in the reworking of the Band Aid single "Do They Know It's Christmas Time at All," which obviously raised some massive funds for local food bank up there for you in Wigan. So sort of how did the idea come about? And because obviously it was a real sort of like who's who of you know, musicians from, you know, from the new music scene, wasn't it?
yeah, it was a bit of a weird one, really. I still keep forgetting that it actually happened. Uh, but yeah, it was the Will Watts, the guy who sort of produced it with me. He's the bass player in Flechettes, and like we were saying earlier about trying to find new ways of staying relevant and stuff on social media, it is difficult. And we talked about doing it last Christmas, like a cover of a Band Aid, "Do They Know It's Christmas?" Because we actually all quite like the song, so it was, you know, it's a good message and stuff. And we thought,
Yeah.
you know, how can we sort of make this into a big thing? You know, get people together at Christmas. And we wanted to involve local charities because the council have done so much for us and the football team and just the people of Wigan in general. So it was about trying to give something back, really. So obviously the Brick being like a big Wigan charity that we all sort of know, we reached out to them, said, you know, we're thinking about doing it like a Christmas cover, a single, raising some money. And me and the drummer Rob went in and sort of met the team, what they do, and you know what the money can be used for. And we met quite a lot of the people. I remember one particular person, a guy called Kevin, who the charity had helped. You know, help find a home, find a job, and rebuild people's lives. It was really emotional, to be honest. You know, I remember walking out of the charity thinking like, you know, this makes it 10 times bigger. And I
Yeah.
think we had the second day in the studio because we had to track the whole thing in 2 days. We had the second day just after we'd gone in and visited the charity. So it's sort of, you know, you wake up with this like renewed sense of energy, this enthusiasm that you want to go and do it and make it special. So I think to be given that opportunity to do something like that, none of us took for granted, really. And you know, we reached out to all these different bands. You know, the Facades, Aladdin's, Garden Party. You know, I think there was about 12 different acts in total that we got involved. We even got like all, you know, ITV Granada reports involved, all the Wigan newspapers. You know, the football team, the rugby team. You know, it was massive, really. So
Yeah, and I mean, and obviously for the great thing that obviously they're doing for the charity, it sounds like there was a very nice story there as well in terms of, you know, someone obviously being benefited from the charity being there in the first place, and but the song itself, obviously, as we know how successful that was when it was first, you know, released back, you know, back in the 80s and stuff. But you guys have done a tremendous version of it for me, and you know, I think you can all, I'm sure you all are, but you can all be very proud of you know, of what you did with that.
yeah, it was amazing to see sort of everyone else in the studio and how talented everyone was. And I know we did a bit of a documentary about recording it, and I remember Will saying this. that it was an absolute privilege and a pleasure to sit in the producer's chair behind the glass and listen to, 30 amazing musicians sing, play, drum, even just throw ideas around. And that in itself was like a surreal feeling. You had like Alex Moore, who just done a #1 album, a band like the Facades, who had recently just formed. So it was a mad mix, and just to see everyone getting on so well, there was that sort of like sense of unity that we're all there to do one job and just get on with it. So
Yeah, sure. Great stuff. So what do you personally prefer doing then? Do you prefer being on stage and playing live, or do you like, prefer being in the studio and sort of maybe trying to like mix and like produce the tracks?
I think nothing will ever get over that buzz you get, when you're out on stage and people are singing your songs back to you, words that you scribbled in a book at 3 a.m. But for me, and I know the other three lads will disagree, it's being in the studio, trying, mad ideas that you don't think will work, and running like an effects pedal backwards, like through 2 different amps, and then, putting a load of reverb and chorus
Yeah.
on it at the end, and it's, and just stuff like that. Like, when we're in the studio with Gareth, I might get like an idea at 3 a.m. And it won't wait, and I'll have to text him, we're trying this out first thing. And he's like, "You just woke me up. It's 3 a.m." But I think the other three lads, I think they buzz off being on stage. I know Tom especially. He gets, I don't know, he gets like a rush of adrenaline. He's out and he's singing.
Yeah.
And, it's like he's always singing. I lived with him at uni, and he's always singing in the shower and stuff like that. But when he's out on stage, he's in his element. I think he feels he can be who he is. And I know
Yeah.
Rob's similar. Like, in the studio, it's quite meticulous and time consuming. Whereas when he's on stage, it's the adrenaline. You're in and you're out, and yeah.
Great stuff there. So what this is probably quite an unfair question probably to ask you really, but we'll see. What is like your favorite song like Stanley song that you've released to date?
I think I quite like Look Back, because it was like a step out of our comfort zone for us. It was a bit dark,
Yeah.
after doing A Better Life and Measured in Gold and songs like that, and like on an EP with What's Been and Gone and So Long, these like uplifting 3-minute pop songs to do something a bit darker.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably my favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite one we've released so far. What's yours?
Well, I was just thinking this, and I was going, well, yeah, I like if you reading them off. I'm going, yeah, I like that one. And then I was thinking, oh, hang on, I've already said, haven't I, at the beginning? I said, why would I? I've said was probably your
Oh
best
yeah,
one today.
yeah,
So
of course, yeah.
I bet I can't go back on that now.
No, no. I forgot that one was even out. I forgot that was even released.
Well, it definitely is, and I can tell you, as I say, for me, it's definitely the best one. So, but yeah, the other choices, to be fair, it's very very tight to call it, but we'll go with that one. What would you say is your sort of like proudest musical moment with Stanleys?
I think when we got announced for Kendall Calling just before the first lockdown, and we got like the poster through on the email and all the assets, and it said like on the poster it was like Stanley's main stage Kendall Calling Sunday, and the lineup was like DMAs, like Stereophonics,
Yeah.
Stanleys, and I was like, what's going on? Like, why are we there? So that was like a big thing. And I remember Harry's mum printed off the poster and like enlarged it so we could have it in our practice room. And yeah, and we were like, wow, this is it. It don't get much better than that.
No.
So that's that was probably one of them. Oh, me and Tom actually did a gig in Wigan, supporting Sean Ryder. He did like a like a talk about just about his life and stuff like that in
Oh yeah,
Wigan,
yeah.
at a theatre, and they asked us to come down and play a few songs before I came on, and we met him backstage, and that was a big thing because we're all quite into like 90s, 80s, 90s Manchester music. It's like Smith, Stone Roses, Happy Mondays, Charlatans, Joy Division, stuff like that. So that was, that was sort of like meeting one of your heroes, really. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, nice, man. And yeah, I've heard quite a lot of good things about Sean Ryder with that sort of meet and greet talking tour thing that he's done. So obviously a great opportunity for you by the sounds of it. So who then would you say is kind of like your musical influences, and sort of like what inspired you to take up music?
I think we've all, as a band, we've got a lot of similar influences. Bands like the Lars and the Beatles and stuff like that. We all share a love for. And then a lot of the classics, like Bowie, Elton John, things like that. But we've all sort of got our own sort of influences. Like Tom's massively into like Paolo Nutini, stuff like that. A lot of singer-songwriter stuff. Um, and I know Rob's into a lot of like new wave stuff at the minute, stuff like Blondie as well, like punk stuff early on. And Harry's a massive fan of the Clash. So we've all got our differences.
Yeah.
But we all sort of come together as well, and a lot of influences. I think for me, the first time I got into music properly was in high school. I was about 15, and 14, 15, and I only ever listened to chart music before that. I'd grown up with like the Beatles and stuff. My mum and dad listening to it, and Simon and Garfunkel, but it was just like Ed Sheeran and Bastille and what's his name, Calvin Harris, stuff like that. And then a mate of mine called James Devlin sent me a song. He was like, "Listen to this," and it was Joy Division, Disorder.
Right. Yeah.
And it had, and the music video on YouTube was from the 2001: A Space Odyssey. There's like a 3-minute clip with the music over it with Disorder. I remember him sending me the link. He's like, "Listen to this, well, good song." I remember sitting in my bedroom listening to it. I was like, "This is weird because it's not got that instant hook, but I really like it. It's not like a manufactured pop song, but it's like good music. I can't really get my head around it." I said to him, I was like, "Have you got anything else like this?" I'm hooked. So he sent me a few Smith songs, like William, It Was Really Nothing. And then my dad heard me listening to these. He's like, "Oh, you might like this." And he gave me the Stone Roses debut album. And I put that on. And then I think within 3 weeks, my head had just come off, literally. Hearing like how guitars didn't have to sound cliche. They didn't have to sound like AC/DC, or, do you know what I mean? They didn't have to be full of distortion. It could be bright and sort of jangly and uplifting. And so I said to my dad, I was like, I need to get a guitar now. I need to learn this album. So I got like a cheap, like a Squire Telecaster, part of the set with like an amp for like 100 quid. I think it was for my birthday. And they didn't have the colour I wanted, so I was gutted, but I played it anyway. And I remember in about 6 months learning the entire Stone Roses album. I didn't leave my bedroom. I didn't speak to anyone. I became like a total social recluse before then. Like, I'd be on Xbox all the time. I'm playing football a lot, and it all went out the window after that. It was like, this is what I want to do. I want to play guitar like this.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, what a great story there with especially with like the guitar as well. That's, oh wow, amazing. So what if there was like one cover song that you could introduce into the set, what would it be?
we were talking about this in rehearsal today, actually. Because we're going to do a cover for the Manchester show to, just sort of a bit of a treat for everyone. I'm not sure. I think because we used to be a cover band. We used to play all the pubs in Wigan, and we used to literally exclusively play covers when we first started out. Trying to think now. We used to do The Police, Message in a Bottle.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of The Police, but that song, like, we used to, like, it's really fun to play. So I'd say that one probably.
Oh, nice, fantastic. And if you could have 24 hours with any artist, past or present, who would it be?
Um, Probably I'd say mm, David Bowie maybe. I think it'd be interesting. It seems like he's lived like a million different lives. You know, you could chat to him for 24 hours about literally anything. Like,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, great choice. And just sort of a couple of sort of quick fire questions now here for you. What is your favourite pizza topping?
I'm gonna have to play it safe and say pepperoni. I think. What's yours?
Oh, you probably won't talk to me ever again after this. It's ham and pineapple.
I knew I could. You know what? I've never tried it, so I can't knock it. So I've tried it.
It's top tier in my view.
I need to give it a go. I was watching Stranger Things the other day on Netflix, and that was like they keep eating ham and pineapple pizza. So I need to try it. I need to give it a go.
There you go. Got to go for it. And what is your favourite biscuit?
Um, I don't mind digestives to be honest, or chocolate chip cookies are pretty good. Uh, Custard creams as well. I'm a big fan of custard creams. Too many, I can't pick. That's too hard.
And what is your favourite film?
Ooh, uh, that's too many to think. I've recently watched. It's not really a film, I suppose. It's a bit of a documentary. At the minute, I recently watched on Sky that the Beatles film. You know, the new one, the three
Oh yeah,
part
the Get Back
sort of
one.
like,
Yeah,
and I've
yeah.
I've rewatched that about 3 times now. So at the minute, it's not even a proper film, but bit of a cop out answer. But at the minute, I've got to say that because I watched it numerous times. So
Sadly, I've only got as far as the first episode with it. I need to pull my finger out. Unfortunately,
yeah, the
I'm getting
first
outvoted with
one,
Love Island.
fir- first one was a bit slow going, but after that, it goes into like rehearsals and recording techniques and stuff like that. I found it really interesting.
So, can you remember what the first gig was that you ever went to?
The first gig I ever went to was at Liverpool Echo Arena watching Example in 2008. I think it was. Yeah, bit embarrassing, but I went watching my first proper gig that went, when people ask me, like I normally say, uh, the second ever gig I went to was the Sherlocks at a Manchester venue called Sound Control, which must have held about 100 people. And this was when Sherlocks first started getting really big. So it would have been about 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
He only had about 2 songs out, and there was this sort of like massive hype around him. And my mate was on the bus back from school and was like, "You got to give these a listen. We'll go watch them." Tickets were about £4. We couldn't even drink at the time, so just sat on the train with cans, and then and it was the first ever time I'd ever seen like a mosh pit or anything like that. So it was a bit of an experience, but yeah.
Yeah, they're a I mean, what a class gig that sounds like, and what do you think of their latest album?
I think for them it's a return to form. I think I wasn't personally I weren't a massive fan of the second one. I think there was some okay songs on it, but I feel like they'd sort of exploded so quickly. There was so much pressure on that second album. Um, the caliber of songs that they were releasing early on, people were loving it. They sold out Vic Warehouse as well. It was sort of in that space where the sort of the Lathams are now, where they just released this
Mm.
um, really successful album. I'm not sure. I don't think it got to number one, the Sherlock's one, but it was there or thereabouts. Um, and they just sold out Victoria Warehouse, like 4,000 people. Um, so I think they're trying to rebuild now and sort of get back there again. So good luck to them. I hope they do.
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree with what you were just saying there about the second album, sort of maybe a little bit of a dip, but I think they're definitely the like the new album. I think yeah, it's sounding rocking really. I think it's really good, and it's great to see them, and obviously guitar music in general, sort of like breaking through again, and they're certainly right in the mix for hopefully getting on to like, you know, the next sort of the next stage, I guess, which obviously is like arenas and et cetera, et cetera. So what is next for Stanleys in terms of, you know, like, can we expect like single releases, EP releases, gigs? What's going to be the plan for the rest of 2022?
Yeah, so if we sort of pull our finger out, which I hope we will in the next week or two, we've got, you know, vinyl, CDs on the way, a full new EP. We can't confirm like a full date for that, but you know, there's singles just around the corner. You know, we're hopefully going to get another one out just after the Academy date. So that's it for in terms of new music. There's loads to come. In terms of live dates, we're going to try and get back out on tour just after summer, because the response we got in December was ridiculous, really. So we're going to try and keep building on that. Hopefully see the same faces that we did last time, but also some new ones. So that'll be really good. We're looking forward to that. And in terms of festivals and stuff, we've got Why Not, which we're really looking forward to. Kendall Corwin, finally. Feels like it's been, you know, years in the making. Keep getting contact. Finally looking forward to playing that. So that's going to be really good. So yeah, it's a lot of, in terms of festivals, gigs, music, there's loads coming up, really. So it's exciting times.
Oh, it definitely is, and it sounds, you know, there's obviously a lot going on, and obviously as a fan of the band, I can't wait to hear, you know, new music that's going to come out, and hopefully as well I'll be able to get down to one of the tour dates as well, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
Great stuff. So, Jake, unfortunately, that is the end of the This Is the Music Meets Stanley podcast. Thank you very much for coming on. You've been a great guest, and I've really enjoyed chatting to you and getting to know a little bit more about the sort of the workings of the band and where you currently are, and etc. But just before you go, can you just let everyone know where Stanleys can be found on social media?
Yeah, so on Instagram it's at Stanleys Band, Twitter at Stanleys Band _, Facebook just Stanleys. We've got a YouTube channel. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, stuff like that. So you know, relatively easy to find. And in terms of, you know, seeing us live, we've got a big Manchester show coming up on the 5th of August. So yeah.
Excellent stuff, and we'll again, as we mentioned earlier, with the show there in Manchester, we'll include all the links to that in the episode bio as well, so that you can make that life a little bit easier for you. So all that leaves me to say is thank you to everyone that has listened to the latest This Is the Music Meets podcast. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and receive the latest This Is the Music podcast straight to your listening device. Jake, thanks again for coming on. I wish yourself personally, and obviously the band Stanleys, continued success. And as I say, I hope to see you somewhere down the road on that tour that you've got coming up very, very soon.
Cheers, no, thank you so much for having us. We're big fans, so I appreciate you asking us on.
Thank you very much. I'll see you very soon.